Hey everyone, it's Jen with Spirited Saturdays, and that's my cat Marley. He insisted on being in the video, so he finally gets his shot at worldwide fame, Marley. Yeah, he's very free, very free. And okay, so this week we are talking about eating disorders and sports. And I think that is hugely relevant and just such a crucial thing to explore, whether or not you're involved in sports, it's just still so, it's just the focus on competition is so significant that whether you're involved in sports or not, exploring that the idea of competitiveness and of perfection and of needing to meet a goal, that could kind of apply across the board. I'm also going to focus a lot on dance. I have my own little history with dance, so I want to focus on that. And so basically, I want to start talking about my, oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, boy. Sorry, guys. This sucks. All right, this doesn't suck. What am I talking about? I'm going to edit that out. Because I can edit because I forgot about that. All right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. So what I think comes to mind for me across the board with eating disorders and sports or eating disorders and any kind of physical activity that's competitive, keep in mind competitive with yourself, also beating your own records, and competitive with others would just be control. There are rules, there's perfection, there's calculations, there's weight criteria for a lot of these things, there's body type criteria. So, whether you're putting that on yourself or somebody else is putting it on you, often both are happening. And remember that about the breaking your own record thing, because, that could happen in a group activity or by yourself. I just remember for myself, just when I was a kid, moving around was a lot of fun. I loved and appreciated what my body could do. I loved flipping around the monkey bars. I loved going, jumping around and holding on to, the bars and kind of, swinging across and doing all those kinds of things and, balancing on things in the playground and stuff like that, and playing basketball in the playground, which we didn't even really play basketball. We played, silly basketball games that kids play. So, it just, I felt free in my body. I also went to dancing school, dancing class from the time I was 3 to the time I was 13. And basically the dancing school history kind of goes like this. I noticed, but I didn't care, that some of the girls were skinnier than I was. And, obviously that made being skinny cool. These were the cool girls. They looked down on me. This is how I perceived it. They showed off how well they danced, and therefore they were just far cooler than I was. Something else that happened in dancing school was when I was 13, my two friends and I did a trio in our dance recital, and we auditioned. We did a Boys to Men song. It was awesome. And it was a big deal. I auditioned before and didn't get in. It's just a huge deal. And we had to wear belly shirts, and this was a really big deal for me because it was just being seen, and I hated my belly, and it was just this awful thing. I felt totally exposed, and I masochistically kind of went along with it, even though I didn't want to. I was like, I'll lose weight by the time the recital goes on. And that was just silly. So I ended up not losing weight and feeling awful about my body in that two-piece costume. And I don't know, I felt exposed. And the thing is that what happened was that when we did perform, we performed our trio. And during that performance, I went so far to try to dismiss my concerns about my stomach and my body that I remember I danced with everything I had. I put all my energy and attention into the dancing and away from my body, and I had the most fun that I could. And maybe part of it was that I felt like if I moved like lightning, people wouldn't get a chance to catch sight of my stomach. But I also remember feeling very confident in my dancing because I wanted to shift my attention so badly, and I wanted to feel amazing, and I knew I wouldn't be able to rely on my body to make me feel amazing. So I had to give it my all in my dancing, and then maybe people would see what I could do and feel in that moment, and then maybe that would somehow make up for my body, which, I was 13, and this is how I felt, which is very sad, sad kind of looking at that. But I have grown since then, and, I don't want, that's not the ultimate message here. Then I ended up taking a year off of dance, and when I went back, I was 14, and I had the choice between doing either dance or B'nai B'rith, which is a Jewish youth organization, as kind of an after-school activity. And I went to try out a dance class once, just to see how I felt. And my teacher told me several times during the class to suck in my tummy. And my other teacher said, "Oh, Jen, your face got fuller." And I just compared myself all over the place, needless to say, which is obviously I should have pushed, well, now I'm, maybe I should have pushed through that, but it ended up being a good choice to go to B'nai B'rith, so I don't want to think things should have happened differently, but I had a great time in B'nai B'rith, but I did feel that dancing had a special place in my heart, and I missed it and was jealous of the other girls who got to continue doing it. Some of them progressed and became competitive dancers later on. Most of them ended when they were teenagers or younger. But I loved doing it. I loved the tap, ballet, and jazz once a week, and later twice a week. And by the way, going twice a week meant that obviously you were, better, so you got to do it. You got to be in a more advanced class as well as the class that everybody else was in. So, that was another point of comparison for me. And obviously for a while I wasn't as good as those girls. And then, all of a sudden one day I was. Anyway, that was it for dancing school. But years passed, and I went to an art school for college, studying music. And so to this day, one of my favorite things to do musically is collaborate with dancers. And I rediscovered dance in school as an audience member in college. Some of my friends were dancers, and I loved going to their shows, and then some of us collaborated. I was on the board of a club called For Arts, but it was actually, we called it Farts, and it was comprised of mostly dancers, and our shows were often held in a dance studio. To this day, I absolutely love being the musician among dancers, or one of the few musicians among dancers, and I often feel like dancers and I have a mutual respect for each other, and we really love what the other one does. I tend to feel more appreciated around dancers, this is not like a blanket statement, but especially appreciated around dancers, even more so than other musicians, sometimes, depending. Not as a blanket rule, but there's something special about being able to communicate in a universal language, and neither of us understand the other one's technicalities, but being able to relate at a core instinctual level. And maybe there's less competition because we each have our own thing we're bringing. We're not competing with each other. So I love dancing in my apartment. I love dancing with my friends. I just danced with my friend last night, and it was fabulous. I dance with my cats and some dogs, and they put up with it. I know dancers now who don't fit the mold as straight as a board, and they're doing fantastically, and they're doing amazingly well, and are empowered and empowering. I love variation in body types with dancers, whether it be skinny, curvy, straight, tall, short, as long as, or big, as long as they're healthy and as long as they're strong. Because I noticed something, you could have a dancer standing in front of you, and this person can have an average size body or a curvy body or a super curvy body or big hips or big boobs or flat boobs or big thighs or whatever. Replace big with muscular, it doesn't matter. But she can be in front of you and talking to you and your friends, so you might even forget for a minute that she's a dancer. And you might even not even be able to imagine her dancing in that moment. You might think, how could she possibly get her body to move? And this might go for anyone, however perfect their bodies seem. But then you see that person dancing in a performance or at a rehearsal. And this is why dance is an art form, because you see her transform. And you see her being moved, and not moving necessarily, moving, but also being moved. You see her muscles work in ways that are so subtle and so charming and so intense that she becomes something else. She becomes someone other than the person who was standing in front of you. She has transformed herself, and that transformation had absolutely nothing to do with body size changes, because 2 minutes ago she was standing in front of you, same body. The transformation was internal and external and artistic, and not gauged by body size. So, all kinds of movement and sports, they're about strength. That should be the primary focus for anything, not size. I know the book Maggie Goes on a Diet preaches the opposite of that. I'll link to a video I did on that a while back. It's about a girl who is made fun of in school but goes on a diet and loses weight and is then allowed to play on a sports team. If this were done with the intention focused on health and strength in a completely different way, maybe I would give it a chance, or I would understand. But it's not done that way at all. It's done with the intention of vanity, competitiveness, appearance, social criteria, ultimately fitting into a smaller dress size. You can and should be accepted at any size. That's the message. And there's no correlation between size and acceptance. That should not exist, whether it's sports, social acceptance, art, or anything like that. And so, be careful. If you you might love doing these things. You might love dancing, you might love sports, and you might also have an eating disorder. And so it's just, there's that fine line between doing it for the love of it and then doing it because you feel like you have to or you're pushing yourself. So that's when it becomes about trusting your internal cues. In recovery, you learn what those are and understanding what is enough when you have sort of earned your way back into being able to do it, and what you get out of it when you do it. Try to pay attention to that. What do you get out of it when you do it? Do you leave feeling exhausted or exhilarated? Do you leave feeling like you should have done more or you should have done better, or that or kindly critiquing yourself on what would be nice to work on or what is really exciting for you to work on? There's all of these things that you can ask yourself in order to gauge why you're doing something, what motivates you, what you're getting out of it, and whether or not you should continue and in what capacity. But ultimately, in recovery, you get to do the things you love, so you'll figure out what that is. All these things can be amazing if it's done in a healthy way. So, or not, depending on who you are and what you love. So have a great day and a great week, and I will see you next week.